Guys, like, comment, subscribe, share the video, especially if you love college football as much as I do. Ohio State, our son. I love talking about our children. Before I'm making this video, I do want to say that I wish our children nothing but the best. I wish our children a very successful season, and I wish them all the success as much as they can. With that being said, Ohio State, let's talk about them. They won the national championship last year. They were 14-2. Who were their two losses? Oregon and their daddy for the fourth year in a row. They did, of course, go on right after getting slapped around by their father to win the national championship. They hosted Tennessee in a home playoff game, dominated them, dominated Oregon in a Rose Bowl rematch, beat Texas, and then they beat Notre Dame to be the national champion. Yet they couldn't beat us. Let's talk about who they lost. They lost Will Howard, the quarterback. They lost both running backs, Judkins and Henderson. They lost Ibuka. They lost some offensive linemen. They lost quite a few defensive players, most notably Jack Sawyer, the one that threw our flag down because they can't beat us. Lost Denzel Burt. They lost a bunch of other defensive players. And it's not just players, but they lost some coaches too. Not Ryan Day, not the coach that likes working for us, but they lost the offensive coordinator, Chip Kelly, to the NFL, and then they lost Jim Knowles, who we beat 3 times to Penn State, just to keep getting beat, now to get beat by Ohio State, I guess. That's what he wants to. I'm just kidding, running my mouth. He's a good defensive coordinator. I will say this. It was really hard. I really thought about this team going 12-0. But then I know that they can't beat us, so that's one loss. And then I thought about who all they lost and who are teams that they're going to play. First of all, it won't take very long to go through the schedule. I'm going to skip Texas. I'm going to skip Penn State, and I'm going to skip their daddy, Michigan. Let me go through everyone else, because everyone else on the schedule is very beatable. Grambling State, that's a win. Ohio, that's a win. At Washington, a tough place to play. And even though they lost some key players and coaches on that team, not enough to where I think they're going to lose at Washington now. They should beat Washington. Minnesota at home, they should win that one. At Illinois, that game can be played on the moon. They'll still win that game pretty easily with their eyes closed. Illinois was a pretty good team last year too. They won 10 games. They won their bowl game against South Carolina. They beat us, something these guys couldn't do. They're our sons. What was Father's Day gifts, by the way? Yeah, yeah, and then they have to go to Wisconsin. I really expected more out of Luke Fickell than I did. I really did expect more than what he's been giving us. 7-6. 5-7, missing a bowl game last year. That's not very good. That's not good business if you want to keep your job as a head coach. I like Luke Fickell. This might be a night game. It's at Wisconsin. Who knows? He might have his best team ever, and I could see that possibly where Ohio State goes over there and sleepwalks and thinks it's an easy game, and it's not. But until I see Wisconsin with Luke Fickell do anything significant, I'm not picking that. I think Ohio State will go over there and end up winning that game on the road. No problem. Purdue, that's doo-doo right there. They should beat Purdue. UCLA, nah, they should beat them. UCLA lost 8 games last year. But they had some tough losses too, some close games, most notably LSU. And they gave USC a hard game, but that's not hard to do. I know a lot of people beat on USC nowadays. But, yeah, without a quarterback, we beat them. But I think they should beat UCLA, no problem. And then, of course, Rutgers at home, that's not much of a challenge. Not because Rutgers isn't a tough team. They're a good team. They just don't have the talent to play with Ohio State and all these other big schools. Otherwise, it might be a different story. But, no, they should beat Rutgers. I want to talk about Texas, Penn State, and Michigan. Penn State, until I see Penn State beat them for the first time in almost 10 years now, I'm not picking them for anything. They're going to beat Penn State again. Probably more convincing than last time. Let's talk about Michigan and Texas. Michigan, that's not much to talk about right there. We're their daddy. We own them. We keep slapping them around. We've done it 4 years in a row. Make it 5. They couldn't beat us at our lowest point last year. We were 6-5 going into their house. Let me remind you, we were a 3-touchdown underdog going into their house. It was their biggest game of the year. They were a 3-touchdown favorite. And yet we still went in their house and smacked them upside their head. We also went there and beat them without throwing for 100 yards and threw 2 interceptions. Didn't even get a touchdown pass in that game. But yet we still ran the ball for 200 yards. I'm just kidding. We ran it that much, but we still ran a lot. And they couldn't kick field goals against us. They make excuses for that too. Planted the flag in their field, whooped them in a pretend fight because that's what they were doing after the game. And then we beat them up so bad after the game, fist fighting them. They their little cops pepper sprayed us. But hey, it is what it is. There's not much to talk about there. I mean, we own Michigan. I mean, we own Ohio State. That's just what it is. And again, if they couldn't beat us at our worst, they're never going to beat us. They can forget that. I mean, we own them now. We own them all the time. We keep slapping them around. We're going to keep doing it until they give us a Father's Day gift. I mean, who knows? But yeah, it is what it is. The Texas game, this was the hardest game for me to pick out of this game, this whole schedule, for several reasons. Ohio State beat Texas last year. Well, I know that. But last year's Ohio State's team and coaching staff, there's been so much missing from there. 2 NFL running backs, gone. An NFL quarterback, gone. Offensive line, a lot of them, gone. A lot of defensive starters, most notably Jack Sawyer, who can't beat us, gone. A lot of players, gone. Offensive coordinator, defensive coordinators, both gone. Who all did Texas lose? They lost Quinn Ewers, who's turnover prone. They did lose an offensive tackle. They did lose a few other players too. But who else? So for those reasons, I had to go with Texas winning this game. Now, I know it's Ohio State. They're a great team. They're a great program. I know that. I'm their father, representing their father saying that, They're a good program. They win a lot of games. They're winners no matter what happens. They can't beat us, but they do win a lot of games. They can't win the Big Ten because of us. That's another thing we did. We slapped them so much in the face to where the Big Ten looked at them and said, nah, man, y'all lost twice. But y'all losing to that team, Michigan's only road win, that counts as 5 losses. Man, you ain't even going to the Big Ten. That's how bad it was, or it should have been. But I had to pick Texas because they had so much coming back from that team from the year before. They're clearly a really good football program. Sarkisian knows what he's doing. Yeah, they find ways to win games. And now I would not be shocked if Ohio State were to win this game because it's a home game for them and it's a big noon kickoff game. But it wouldn't matter what time this game was being played, where this game is being played, why it's being played. It's being played because idiots like me like to watch these games. Ohio State can win this game, okay? I'm not saying Texas is going to go in there and have their way with them like we do every year. It doesn't work that way. They don't fear anybody except us. They don't fear Texas either. They beat Texas and not us. So with that being said, that puts them at 10-2. They will lose to us, and they might lose to Texas. Now, best case scenario for Ohio State, they can go 11-1. Who knows? They could beat Texas and all these other teams, but they ain't beating us. We're their daddy. It is what it is. We have been the sole reason why for the last 4 years they have not made the Big Ten. Fun fact. But yeah. I have the Buckeyes going 10-2. They could easily be 11-1, but they ain't going undefeated. No.